So welcome back to another special episode of Midnight Decoy Noise, where I'm covering more fake Am I the Antagonist stories in Would I Be the Antagonist for Not Paying the Movers After They Crashed Their Truck with My Stuff Inside? So how do I know this story's fake? Because I wrote it. So make sure you're subscribed down below with the notifications on if you want to submit your suggestion for fake stories that I write, because I mean, I do have fun with this because I really get to try to steer the conversation in a particular way. But I mean, with this fake story, it actually got 1.4k upvotes. It actually got to the front page for Am I the Antagonist for a little bit and got lots of feedback, which is surprising to say the least. But let's go ahead and read this story right now, because with this particular story, it was just something that came across my mind where I saw a moving truck when I was driving around and it almost turned over, and I was thinking, you know, what would happen if they crash the stuff? Like, whose responsibility it is? I don't really know insurance and how it works or whatever, but I wanted to make the story about, like, you know, a poor small mom and pop moving company versus this big freaking rich dude that doesn't care about anybody and says, F you, I'm not paying for anything. So I tried to paint him as this rich jerk to see if the internet would side with the victim, even if they're in the wrong. So let's go ahead and read the story right now. So OP wrote, well, I wrote, I pretty much know what I'll do already, but my girlfriend thinks I'll be the massive antagonist if I do. So I finally moved states after my work situation became solidified. I'm already in my new place with my essentials, but I hired a small local moving company from my old place to load up my large belongings, couch, TVs, bed frame, fridge, etc. So as you can tell, I'm making this guy rich. Then next he wrote, moving day comes along and I get a call from the movers saying a couple cities shy of my new place, they were in an accident and their truck got put on its side. Not something I really wanted to deal with while at work, but apparently one of their guys got injured, so I would need to make arrangements to collect my stuff right away. Luckily, I was able to find another moving company that was able to collect my belongings ASAP and have them delivered without much issue, but it did cost me more than it should. Most of my stuff was packed well and did fine, but my TVs will need to be replaced. A little over a week passed, and I didn't want to bother the old movers with my TV expense, but the owner had the audacity to reach out asking for the rest of what I owed. He gave me the sob story of how they're a small company, their truck got totaled, and their injured employee was actually family. Yeah, I get it. I basically told them to F off. I said if I hired them to bake a cake and they flipped it over on the street on the way to deliver it, how the heck would I be expected to pay for their efforts, especially when I had to pay someone else to do their job for them? He tried to push the issue, but when I brought up contesting the credit card payment for the upfront charge and contesting our moving contract to collect damages on the TV, he dropped it. Girlfriend thinks just because I could afford to pay them, it's not a big deal, and I should just be the bigger person. But I don't think their well-being is my responsibility. Why do I need to pay someone for a job they didn't even complete just because they're having a hard time? But whatever, let me know if you think I'm the antagonist here. So we gotta rush me, the decoy, over to the Decoy Court to give you, my knee-jerk reaction onto what I was doing and not me. No, okay, whatever. So what I was trying to do is, like, if you just put it on the surface, you're never gonna get, back and forth conversation. If I say, I'm making six figures, I got a job when everybody else is being laid off, and I can hire a second moving company, buying a new TV really doesn't bother me. I have multiple TVs, mind you, and I have extra bed frame. Like, I'm trying to put the subtext in here that he's well off, and this doesn't really bother him at all. He's just kind of being like, F you, I'm not dealing with it right now. Like, they were in a major car accident where one of their family members was injured, and he's like, I don't want to deal with this while I'm at work. And the idea where he's coming to him hand in hand saying, I don't, we're a small company, our truck is totaled, so our company's gone, my son is injured now, the real, the whole situation with the girlfriend's like, you have the money, just pay them something or whatever. And then he's like, I'm gonna go on the offensive right now, and I'm gonna own the rest of the company. I'm gonna own the tires if I'm pick apart after this is done. So I'm not the best writer, so I try to get it in the air, but let me know what you think how Reddit is going to respond. Earn yourself the Decoy coin while we take this brief break before we look at the top comments and the controversial comments, because like I said, this got upvoted to the front page. It's 181 comments, so maybe we're going to see some back and forth. Maybe we will, maybe we won't, but I want to know your unfiltered opinion. But let's go ahead and read the top comment right now saying, not the antagonist. You paid them to get your stuff from A to B, and they didn't. Them asking for payment is absolute cheek. And the subtext is there to make it so maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't, but I get where they're coming from because I kind of feel the same way. So let's see if there's any replies for them, especially you didn't go for the TV cost. And the next reply was, I'm probably petty as crap, but I probably go after them for the TV costs after the arrogance of the owner. And so it's like, it seems like everybody's siding with the rich guy, which, I mean, he's kind of in the right in this situation, but I was very curious to know if anybody would stand up for the small business owner that just had their family member injured in this car accident. But let's go ahead and just keep reading on. So the next reply says, not the antagonist. It really sucks that it happened to them, but they should have had insurance to cover what happened to them. They should be happy you aren't making it a claim, which I don't understand the insurance factor of it, so, maybe I don't know. The reply is like, they should be happy you're not making a claim. Exactly. The fact that OP isn't charging them for the extra cost of the new moving company, nor is he charging them for the cost of the TV, means they are already coming out ahead in this situation, and that makes OP the non-antagonist. The insurance, blah, blah. If they don't have insurance, then the business will probably go under anyways next time they have an accident like this, since they might be with someone who actually would press the claim. And the one thing that I would say is, a lot of people just think if you have insurance on your car, you can get everything fixed. But maybe like they were paying the bare minimum, I'm losing the word on the spot right now, but they're paying the bare minimum monthly payment. So if they want to get their truck replaced, it's easy to total out because like, okay, cool, they'll cover the rest of the cost, but they only have insurance up to like $10,000 of damage, and they got to pay a $9,000 copay premium or whatever the word is right now. But the idea is like, yeah, just because you have insurance just because you have the bare minimum state required insurance doesn't mean that you can get yourself out of these situations where just even the smallest thing will put you under. So yeah, everybody over here is siding with the rich guy, which I kind of do too, but it's surprising to me that just people are very callous to this whole situation. So let's go ahead and read the next reply. Not the antagonist, you're nicer than I would be. The small business line pisses me off because it's so scummy. I'm a small business owner and have been in situations where I've taken losses because it was the right thing to do for a customer. Okay. I like that this person got lots of votes there. They're also a small business owner themselves, so I get this situation. But it's so funny how he's just like, yeah, you're a scumbag for having a small business and you're not U-Haul yet, so F you. So let's go ahead and read the reply saying, and while it's nice to cut small businesses more slack than you would a large conglomerate, it's also not nice when businesses, no matter the size, try to cheat their customers. In this case, OP was able to buy a new TV and hire new movers. But what if OP had been much poorer and wouldn't have been able to afford to do either? OP would have been completely screwed and with little recourse besides hope the moving company does the right thing and moves the furniture at a later time. And here's the thing is, I get where they're coming from, saying like, he got lucky because OP's so rich and he can just hire another mover last minute and pay for all this stuff and buy a new TV and just not be affected by it. Like, I see where this is coming from, but just the idea is, I thought once they said, what if OP was poorer, and they were going to start going on the compassionate way for the movers, but nobody is sticking up for them. But let's go ahead and read one more top reply saying, not the antagonist. Reputable moving companies carry insurance for this kind of thing. I recently moved, and there was actually language in the contract about accidents en route, damage to my belongings while they were in the care of the movers, etc. And that's one thing I tried to add in there, because I do know that there's like a thing where it's like you sign off with the movers saying like, hey, if something happens to it, we can't be held liable to like car accidents or something. Like, that's in the verbiage. So the idea that OP was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna tear up our contract and I'm gonna sue you civilly right now, so that's enough to make them scare off. Like, I really wanted to kind of paint OP as a subtle antagonist, like a subtle rich dude, like, I'm much more powerful than you, I can make you pay, I can't force you to do anything, but I can make you wish you didn't do something type of guy. And just nobody seems to be biting on that. So we've kind of seen the top comments to know what everybody is like, the popular opinion, because this guy got 2.5 upvotes when the post itself only got 1.5k upvotes. So let's see if the controversial section is going to provide us with anything more, I don't want to say reasonable, but more falling into the decoy trap that I was trying to set originally. The top controversial was not the antagonist, and someone saying, I need more information. Was the driver at fault for the truck crashing? If so, not the antagonist, and the company is 100% responsible for the broken TV and should have given you the upfront feedback. If the driver wasn't at fault, then there's still antagonist to ask for the rest of the payment, but I'd be like, bygones be bygones. Which is what I was trying to allude. I originally wrote the story saying like, hey, they like the truck in front of them rear-ended the other truck, and then he had to swerve out of the way, causing the truck to fall on its side. That's why, like, the son was massively injured. But that kind of makes it too obvious. It's too on the nose, saying like, oh, it wasn't his fault, and his son is in a coma now, and this guy's just a rich dude. Like, there's no room for like back and forth. But I guess I kind of went one way too far on this. But someone got negative votes, so let's see if they took the bait. So someone said, pay them, minus the cost of the TV and minus the cost of the second set of movers. If that ends up being a negative number, so be it. Not the antagonist. As for the sob story about totaling their van, that's why they're supposed to have insurance. And here's the thing is, you can total your van and not have enough money to pay the difference to get your van back. Like, that's a thing that happens with the copay or the premium, whatever the word is too high. So I feel like a lot of the times people just say, oh yeah, you have insurance, it's fine. Insurance is kind of expensive no matter how you cut it sometimes. And the idea is, pay them minus the cost of the movers. That seems like a reasonable thing. Negative 16 points for that? I don't know, maybe because they just don't want to hear that he's not the antagonist. But the next negative reply, controversial section, was, I think a fair arrangement would be to pay the total bill minus what the new movers and the TV replacement costs. Did this small business not have any type of insurance cases for like this? The accident was not their fault, I assume, but expecting you to pay full despite needing another company sounds a bit much. Not paying them at all would have been the antagonist move, but it seems to be part up front. It's an unlucky situation all around. I understand them needing the money, but I also get your point. And here's a nice rational person saying, I get them, I get you, you're in the right, but can we figure something out and just be the nice person? Not saying that OP is the antagonist in this particular story because he's in the right, but just the idea that he has the means to pay all this stuff doesn't seem to bother him. He's just kind of this well-off guy, and he could do it. Not a big deal, like what's what's $1,000 to me is a big deal, but $1,000 to always reference LeBron James. But $1,000 to LeBron James isn't that big of a deal. So it's just one of those situations like, hey, it's nothing you do, just let it be. I obviously don't agree with that sentiment, but I just kind of thought that the way that Reddit is and just how am I the antagonist threads typically go, that most people would, not most people, but a lot of people would start to kind of defend the moving company and say like, hey man, you're being a jerk right now. Maybe I left two smaller breadcrumbs to kind of allude to OP being this kind of Scrooge McDuck looking character who's just swimming in gold coins, who just doesn't care and has no sense of hey, here's a working man, they're struggling. You're in this nice cush office building with your new apartment and your old apartment doing all this big stuff. It just nobody seemed to bite on that. But as always, if you like this content and you like what I'm doing with this, and midnight decoy noise, or I'm still trying to record episodes late at night in a very weird kind of jazzy voice, whatever, we're making up these fake stories. Make sure you subscribe down below with the notifications on, and you can also give me more feedback as to what kind of stories you want me to write, if you even like these fake stories, or you just think that I'm making Am I the Antagonist a worse place, because I honestly am not the only person writing fake stories that makes it to the front page. If you have any feedback as to what I should cover next, make sure you go to r/DecoyNoise to give me your feedback. And also, if you have stories that you want me to cover, you can link it on the Discord channel as always. But I mean, if you're liking the content, please like it, subscribe, share it with somebody you think that might like this type of content and my video style and my podcast style. As many of you know, ever since I went from furlough decoy noise to midnight decoy noise, I just, YouTube does not favor me in the algorithm. I get nowhere near the same amount of views, but I do know that I have a few people that still are loyal and they watch all my stuff and they watch my content, and I do appreciate that. So as always, if you want to support me on the DecoyNoise.com/donate, on the Patreon and the Ko-Fi, I would really appreciate that. But if nothing else, put this on autoplay and watch the next episode coming up next. I'm trying to be quiet but also be enunciating, and I suck at talking anyway, so this is too much for me.